Hi guys, so today we're going to be doing a graph technique. So if you've never heard of that, it's an art technique that you can use in order to transfer a picture of something that you like onto a piece of paper so that you can draw it and you'll have that graph as a reference so that you'll get a really clear picture where everything lines up correctly, it looks right, the proportions are correct. You come out basically with like a photorealistic image of whatever picture you want to draw. So that can be really useful if you have a family photograph that you really like and you'd love to paint it and hang it up for someone. Or maybe there's a picture that you have that's old and fading, but you want to sort of recreate it as a drawing. You can do that. It can be also really useful if you are like me and you like to sketch a lot of things, but they're really teeny tiny drawings, and you want to take like a little drawing, a little silly drawing like this, and you want to make it really big and paint it. This technique can be really good to make small drawings into something much larger. So it's a good way to make a photorealistic drawing, make that drawing or photo bigger or smaller, whatever you want. The graph technique is really versatile, and it's a great way to pinpoint where you want your picture on a drawing. So today I'm going to show you how to use that technique. Hopefully you can kind of see. I know the camera's not great, but I'm gonna link some references as well in the bottom if this video is like not clear enough to you, or you want some visual representation along with the video, or you just want something that you can follow along with at your own pace. So those will also be at the bottom of this slideshow for you guys to click on whenever you want. But for now, we're gonna just dive right in. So for materials, hopefully you already know you need a ruler, you need a pencil, you need a photograph that you really like, something that you want to make and keep for a long time. So I'm using this picture of my dog. His name's Ollie, and he's my baby. So I figured why not use a picture of him to demonstrate this technique for everyone. So we need ruler, photo, pencil. You want to make your graph in a pencil. I'm using Sharpie so that you can hopefully see it a little bit better, but for those of you following along at home, you don't want to use Sharpie or anything like that. You just want to use a nice graphite pencil so that you can erase those lines later on. And then other than that, you just need a bigger piece of paper than your photograph, and that's it, and then you can get started. So first things first, whenever you're using a graph method, the biggest thing is you need 1-inch cubes on the photograph that you're working with. And the reason you need 1-inch cubes for the photograph is because otherwise your picture will come out elongated or short, or it won't be the correct proportion. You have to have those nice square cubes to make up your graph. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to get those proportions right whenever you transfer that onto your bigger piece of paper. So in order to do that, yeah, I think you can see this. So what I've done here, see if I can move this a little closer. And let's see if I can actually light that up. Sorry for the delay. Okay, need some light on there. Some good studio lighting. All right. So as you can see, what I've already done here is I have measured out this photograph that I have of my dog is 7.5 inches, right? It's 7.5 inches across and 7.5 inches high. That's a 1/2 inch too big for what I want to work with. I don't want to do any complicated math. And so what I've done is I've just cut off this sort of 1/2 inch on either side. So I've made myself a little perfect 7-inch square right here. So you still have my dog, you still have all the detail that I want to draw or paint. And then what I've done from there, after I've cut off that one extra 1/2 inch, is I have just lined my ruler up and I've marked each inch. So on each inch, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. I've put a little dot. You can see those right here. 7 dots across the bottom. 7 dots on the right-hand side. 7 dots across the top. And 7 dots on the left-hand side. And so what that does is it makes sure that each of these, every time I go to draw a line across my paper while I'm making the graph, these line up perfectly, horizontally and vertically, to create those 1-inch cubes that we really need in order to make our graph drawing proportional. So after this, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to line up each of these dots. So I'm going to line up both of my little 6-inch dots here, and I'm going to grab my Sharpie, which I put over here, and I'm just going to line these up. I'm going to draw all the way vertically each time I hit these dots together, right? And then I'm going to do the same thing horizontally. I'm going to line up my horizontal dots, and I'm going to do it horizontally until I get that perfect grid with all of my 1-inch cubes. And then you guys are going to click on the next video after I do that. And then once that's done, you can click on the next video and I'll be showing you the next part of this. But I don't want you guys to have to watch me make an entire graph right now, because that's going to take a while. All right, hello, welcome back. So by now, if you've done your grid drawing on your photograph, you should have something that looks like this. It's got a bunch of 1-inch cubes all around it, making it a perfect grid. What I've done, I kind of messed up on this side, but it doesn't really matter. You're going to be putting these all around. It's basically a reference point for your graph. So on the top and bottom of your graph, you're going to letter each sort of vertical section of your graph. A, B, C, D, E, F, G is what mine came out to. And then on the right and left ends of your graph, you're going to number all the way down. Mine ended up being 1 through 7. And that is just going to be a really helpful point whenever you're plotting things on your graph. You can look at something like his little paw and say, oh, where is that? It looks like it's in D7, and then the rest of it is in C7, and then his paw kind of comes up into D6, D5, a little bit into C5. Something like that can be really helpful whenever you're trying to make sense of this kind of big graph drawing. So after you've done that, you're going to be transferring it onto your larger paper. And what I have right here is actually newsprint. Hopefully you can see that. I've done the same thing on my newsprint that I did on my graph. It's lettered at the top and bottom, and it's numbered on the left and right hand sides, so that I can do the exact same thing on my graph, right? If I need to get into A3, I can just sort of reference that here as well. It's just an easy way to keep track of things when you're drawing. So what I did in order to make this graph, because I'm doing mine on sort of a really big sheet of paper, I just measured out 14 inches across and 14 inches up, because what I'm working with is a 7 by 7 inch square, and I didn't want to mess with any complicated measurements, and so I just doubled that size. If you have a smaller photograph, which most of you probably will, this happened to be sort of what I had laying around, it's probably going to be something like a 4 by 6, which means you're just going to want to double that into an 8 by 12, which happens to be a perfectly standard piece of printer paper. So if you don't want to make a really big drawing, you have a 4 by 6, you can really easily just transfer that into a perfect printer size piece of paper. I didn't have that. What I had was this big ol' giant picture of my dog on a piece of printer paper. So that's what I'm using. And so what I did was I just doubled the size so that I could make an easy graph on my newsprint. And so once you've got all of that done, you've gridded out your printer paper, you've gridded out your photograph, you've kind of got everything in line. You're basically just going to start on your actual drawing. What I like to do is I like to just sort of make an outline of all of the important parts of my drawing. It's a great reference whenever you have this grid. And I'm just gonna kind of demonstrate that for you real quick. You guys can watch me, or you can even like start on your own drawing if you really want to. You already know what's happening. You can go ahead and start doing that. But I'm gonna give you a little visual demonstration of what I like to do whenever I'm drawing, and I'll kind of explain my steps as I do them. Hopefully you can see me. I know it's very, very cramped and hot in here. I'm sweating like crazy. Hopefully you can't see that very well on the camera. But anyways, I'm gonna start drawing. I'm gonna explain my steps to you guys. Feel free to start your own drawings if you feel really confident in what you're doing. You've got the graph down, you've got your photo, you've got everything laid out. Go ahead and start. So I'm going to start by just kind of getting a sense of where everything is in this photograph, right? I've got a carpet right here that kind of goes up from G7 all the way into, it looks like E5. So it starts at G7 right here, a little bit off, right? A little bit to the left. I'm just gonna put a dot right here where I think it starts. It clearly goes up through G7 and then it cuts off that corner of F7. So I am going to kind of trace out. You guys should be doing this in pencil. Don't do this in Sharpie. That's not a smart idea. I just mostly want you guys to see what I'm doing. So I'm going to just kind of start mapping out where that, I've just decided to start with the carpet, where that's going to go. So it goes through F7, it's going to go up into, looks like F6, and it's going to stop right in this little corner at F6. Let's see, I'm left-handed, I'm sorry if that makes it even harder to see. So F6 in the corner is where my carpet goes. I'm just going to map that. It goes all the way up. It goes just a little bit into E5, and then his little leg starts to kind of intercept where we can see that carpet, but it's receding right into the background. So I've got that kind of down. I'm just going to start on this other sort of background area, this doorway. Looks like it goes from B7, kind of right in this middle area. I'm going to plot that right here and all the way into about C. It ends in C6 at the very top. So it ends in C6 right here, and it looks like it ends a little further right than the middle. So I'm going to plot that point. It intercepts right through B and C 7. So that's a pretty easy line. Whoop. See if you can see that. I'm just gonna draw right through there. Okay, not really a straight line, but you guys are doing this with pencil, so you guys can erase it. All right, and after that, I'm just gonna keep on going pretty much the same way I've been going. I'm gonna plot the rest of this door. I'm gonna start plotting in where his face is, where his bandana is, where his little paws are. And I am going to end this video right here, and then you guys are going to click the next video, or I'm going to edit these videos all together, and you'll see my finished sort of sketch, but I'm going to do that for you guys. I don't want you guys to have to watch the entire thing, because that's going to take more than 20 minutes, more than anyone wants to see. All right, guys, I am back. I've got my finished outline done of my dog, and I'm just going to show you how easy it is to sort of take a picture like this and use it as a reference to create a much larger version of that picture that you can paint and keep forever, and it'll be a really special memory for you. Or maybe it's just something like a sketch that you really wanted to make into a much larger painting or drawing. Sometimes sketches are too small and you don't want to submit that into an art show. You want to make it really big and interesting and cool. So this was my original picture of my baby boy. His name is Ollie. And this, let's see if I can get the camera kind of close, kind of so that you can see it. This is my sketch and my face in the corner. So this is my completed sketch of my dog. As you can see from the reference photo, almost everything really lines up. You know, his tongue is in the right spot, his head is in the right spot, his little bandana is in the right spot. The only thing that you can do at this point, which is really exciting, is to start maybe coloring in your new reference photo. And you can also use your graph to color. It's a great reference tool throughout your drawing process, whether you're just making a sketch or you're actually going in and you're going to paint it or color it. Having that reference is going to be an amazing resource. So that is sort of the best thing about having a guide. And that's all really that this graph is it's a guide to use as reference for your drawing. Sorry for the lighting. It keeps changing. It was sort of sunset whenever I started filming this and now it's dark. But hopefully everything's come together. You can see what I've done. Hopefully you guys have been able to do it too. Remember, the steps are just getting a photograph, making 1-inch marks on the sides and on the bottom and the top, then connecting all of those marks with lines horizontally and vertically, making a perfect grid of 1-inch cubes, and then coming onto your other larger or smaller piece of paper and transferring that graph. Hopefully all you guys had to do was double it. That's really the easiest way. Otherwise there's a little more math involved. If you like math, knock yourself out. I don't like math, so I just did a perfect double. So that was a 14 by 14 square on my larger newsprint, where I then did the exact same thing with the graphing. I graphed 2-inch cubes because I doubled the size, right? I forgot to put that into my first video, or my previous video, but I'm gonna upload the steps that you guys can read before you do this, and so you'll be able to kind of see that, hear that, watch me do it, and then hopefully you guys have a great product at the end. Wish this was a real class. I think it'd be a lot easier to explain. I know that I kind of bounce back and forth, and I hope that everything was understandable. I hope that I kind of laid everything out in a clear way. Excited to see the comments. Thank you guys, and good luck on your own projects.